They haven't surpassed them. They were already ahead.
Thank
and just stayed. That's not surpassing.
Bucks and Celtics tied. Donovan in the Cavs, then the Sixers, and then the frisky Heat. Brew, who you got winning the East?
Well, Nick stole my thunder. I was about to say, Joel, I'm saying it. All right, but you're right. They already were past you guys. It is Boston and I'll put Milwaukee and Boston. And whoever else, Philly, Cleveland, Miami, a distant third.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Can you remember a time recently that it has been so clearly two teams? And then, because there was a time where it was like Warriors, Rockets, but that was really one team. It was Warriors here, Rockets there. I was looking through it. I couldn't think of a time where it was two seemingly evenly matched teams so clearly in either conference, and then everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
But
I think
Lakers,
back to
Kings, 2, but for
you
1
still
year.
had some teams. You had Portland.
And
was
we had the
around.
Spurs. Yeah,
I think about, Spurs were there. I think about Miami when LeBron, the big three with the Heatles.
Yeah.
And Boston, but Boston was kind of getting old.
Chicago was there. I
coming,
can't remember it, so that's why it's so exciting. Go ahead.
But no, it is those two teams. And look, Miami, I'm surprised they're fifth. That's a little bit of disrespect, but they're going to do what they did. They're going to be the little engine that could. The battle is between Milwaukee and Boston. And Nick, it's really, I've got Milwaukee slightly. I like the Drew Holiday trade, obviously. It makes them better. I think they needed, as I said last week, a ball handler at the end of games so that Tatum and Brown aren't trying to do something they can't do and turning the ball over. So that's all good. But it's really two teams building differently.
Yeah.
Entirely different philosophies. So Milwaukee is huge. We got Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, all these 7-footers. And yet, they still can shoot the ball, but they're huge and they play defense. Mm-hmm. Even though Dame's not a great defender, they got enough around him.
Yes.
And then Boston is small. Boston has one player of consequence who's taller than 6'9", and that's Kristaps Porzingis, who's hurt all the time.
And doesn't play big.
Right. There you go. You're right. Yeah. He doesn't play big. And so they're saying, we're going small and we're going to outscore you. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who wins that battle. Yeah. But I've got Milwaukee slightly. Look, I think Giannis and Dame are incredibly motivated. Perfect fit, but also incredibly motivated to go get this done. And I think they're going to have a great year together.
So, again, it's early and we're not tied to any of these. But I do think, as a guy who picked Philly last year, and I do reserve the right to adjust this if and when the Harden trade happens and we see what comes, to me, it is a two-team race. And I also believed in Miami in a way I know a lot of people didn't. It's not just they're not the same team as last year. They lost Strus. They lost Vincent.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it is these two teams. Dame had a quote in the original Chris Haynes story right after this happened that made me like Milwaukee even more. And I was shocked to read this from Dame. Quote, now I'll be able to play with a player that's better than me.
Yeah.
And then you can go on from there. I've never been able to experience time for me in this situation. Dame flatly saying he's better. That guy is better than me. Made me even more optimistic.
I agree.
Because Dame is good enough. And Giannis, it's not like Giannis is coming off an MVP or a championship, where if he wanted to not say that out loud, and you know what I mean, that nobody would hold it against him. And he would not have, if he had been traded to Miami, he would not be saying that about Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? And I also wouldn't think, well, it's close, but regardless. And so it makes me, Wilds, very optimistic about them. That Dame is saying, the reason I'm so excited is because for the first time, probably since his rookie year with LaMarcus Aldridge, really not probably, definitely, in my basketball life, somebody's better than me. And I'm awesome, and somebody's better than me. And while Dame hasn't been in the playoffs recently, his last time in the playoffs, he was 34 and 10 for the series against Denver. He had a game where he scored 55 and they lost in that playoff series. So Dame can deliver in the postseason.
Yeah.
I really like Milwaukee's fit here. And the Celtics, I'm anxious for them that the only tall guy they have is the guy who's hurt all the time.
Yeah.
That I am anxious for them.
And Al Horford's 37.
Yeah.
Just a little housekeeping.
Yeah.
We can't all have the Bucks, so it's probably going to have to go.
Well,
through
you're
the person.
from Boston.
I'm not from Boston.
I mean, you kind
I'm not from
Sorry.
Boston.
My
It's
bad.
all
I
this
apologize.
patience stuff. Really? You're not rocking with the
You're
Celtics?
from New England.
Did you see a huge buck here?
Yeah.
Granted, it was
Yeah,
a
but
reindeer, but still.
Yeah.
Then you abandoned them.
You got to be.
I did not abandon.
That
I
just
abandoned
went
the Bucks.
awry. That whole thing went awry.
That's because they got blown out by the Celtics.
Yeah,
I didn't abandon them. All of a sudden, you guys were like, "Hey,
So
maybe I
now
like
you
the
want
Bucks
the
too."
Bucks? You want to run
I've
me off
always
the
had
Bucks?
the Bucks. The Bucks are my team. Everyone knows it.
Really?
I brought a live animal here. It was here with its big antlers. The one in the trailer with the antler fell off.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. But it was my disaster,
It is
not yours.
True. While it is true, but this is the problem with being a sports polygamist. We forget how many sister teams you have. It's hard to keep track. You
In
are
any
right. Go ahead.
Head out to West. Oh, I mean, he might not have heard LeBron, so
Yeah.
he's in a
All right,
tough
can
spot.
I say, I don't really, to me, face of the franchise is almost a silly thing in that LeBron's the face of the league. He is still. So what LeBron's saying is best player. Do we agree? What LeBron is saying is we need Anthony Davis to be the best player.
Yes.
And our expectations for what we're going to get from LeBron in year 21 are so out of whack with history. The best year 21 ever is Vince Carter's with 7 points per game. If there are only 6 guys ever made it to year 21, you add up all their stats cumulatively, and if LeBron has that season, we're going to be like, bad year. I think LeBron's done. So, LeBron understands, Brew, if they're going to win the title, LeBron's got to be the second best guy. And I think by the way, believe they can win the title if LeBron's the second best guy, and it's not because he's fallen off a cliff. It's because he's 90% of what he was last year. But Anthony Davis gets back to being the guy. Anthony Davis in his first 6 years in the league twice was top 5 MVP.
That feels like a long time.
It's never happened since then. He was All-NBA 4 times, with his 4th time being his first year with the Lakers. First team All-NBA. Hasn't even been 3rd team since then. He is saying we need AD to be an MVP candidate for our team to be able to win the title because I'm turning 40 and in year 21. And, Brew, I think that is 100% correct.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the face of the franchise, LeBron, and one of the faces of the league for sure. Still, because even though he's older, he's still playing at such a high level that, he's still the face of the franchise. But this is not a newsflash. LeBron is smart. And he was not just sending a message to the league or his team. He was sending a message to AD.
That's right.
You take the torch. You should have taken it after he won the championship in the bubble in 2020. But for some reason, your play fell off, and then you start getting hurt again. You take the torch this year. That guy we saw in the playoffs for great stretches, offensively and defensively, that's the guy we need. You don't have to be the leading scorer. LeBron could still be the leading scorer. But AD has to be great defensively and very good offensively, and he should be the best player on the team. And I agree. I'm not going to pick the Lakers, I don't think. But if AD's the best player and healthy, and LeBron's the second best player and 90% of what he was last year,
they can win.
They got a shot. They're in the hunt.
Can I push back on your face of the team / face of the league?
Yeah.
Does LeBron need to give up more of those symbolic face of the team things to push AD in that direction?
Being announced last?
So, for example, being announced last.
Give it up, sure. If it helps.
I think it does help. I don't know another team. It's your team, but you're the best player.
What else is there other than that? Is it just that?
Like
let
be
him
on
do the chalk toss?
Yeah.
What?
Be on the
They're
cover
going to
of
be
stuff.
together,
I don't know.
though. They're going to be together probably on most of this stuff.
But don't be surprised when AD's not willing to take the torch when LeBron still has
That is fair. I do think that would help if LeBron did that. But here, and I've said this last year, Anthony Davis has a number 1 game and a number 2 mentality.
Yes.
And I think when LeBron leaves the Lakers or retires or whatever, and Anthony Davis is clearly the best player. It's not even close. They're going to need another guy to come in who might not be as good as AD, but he's a leader, like a Dame or somebody like that if they want to contend. Because AD by himself, as the bona fide leader, is not going to lead.
LeBron can be the leader. LeBron can be the face. LeBron can do the speeches. What they need from Anthony Davis is a year where in February, some people are like, he's the MVP of the league. That's what they need. Maybe. He does not have to be the vocal leader of the team, any of that. That's not who he is. What they need is for him to be in the race for Defensive Player of the Year, 24 points a night, and playing consistently. Yep. They get that, they can win the title.
Some of that can go hand in hand because you need an aggressive takeover mentality.
Yeah.
And sometimes that spills over off the court, right? Huddles and stuff. Do it on the court. That's what they need from
Watch Austin Reeves get announced last.
And Austin Reeves!
Coming up next, we're discussing
the overrated Eagles.
Wilds has a fire